Good morning, children. Hope you are all well in your homes. Stay home, stay safe. Today we are going to start the chapter Need of a Parliament. This chapter discusses the importance of a parliament. You already know that the people of India, through their leaders, had decided to follow the path of democracy. And for the good governance, and by virtue of decision, it was decided that there should be a place where all the representatives of the people would sit together to decide the issues of governance. So, here is why we are studying the importance of parliament. For your convenience in studying, we have divided the chapter into two topics. Today our topic is the Parliament and President of India. So now we are going to start the chapter. Why do we need a parliament? Having suffered under the oppressive rule of the British for nearly 200 years, the Indian masses woke up to a spirit of independence and self-governance. A long struggle against the British rulers succeeded and India attained the independence on 15th August 1947. So children, we had suffered for 200 years under the British rule, and then the Indian masses, that means the Indian population, they started struggling for the spirit of independence and self-governance. And you have seen, I have marked the key lines here. I have highlighted. A long struggle against the British rulers succeeded and India attained independence on 15th August 1947. This is a very important date and I know you all know this date well. The citizens belong to various communities and cultures. A foreign government could never understand the complexity of the diverse nature, as their sole aim was to exploit all possible resources of the country. So what happened here? We are people from different communities. The Indian territory is filled with communities from different cultures, and a foreign government was never able to understand the complex behavior of these communities and the diverse natures also, because their only aim to come to India was just exploit all resources and collect wealth from here. The Indian society, therefore, in a state of poverty, and there was need to have representation of all regions and culture in the governance, so the country could be having an all-round development and that aspirations of all regions and communities could be met. So here, as the British exploited us for a long tenure, different parts of the country, different cultures and religions were suffering. And to make an all-round development, it was very necessary that everybody should come together and decide the future of the nation. Now children, you can see the highlighted part. It is very important. It was because of this reason that the Indian National Congress, which was the largest and dominant political party at that time, at the time of independence, directed the formulators of the Constitution of India that India would be a democratic state with a parliamentary system. Now here what happened at that time, only one party was there, which was the largest dominant political party representing the Indian community, and it was the Indian National Congress. They directed, that means they instructed the formulators, those who formulated the Constitution of India, to declare India a democratic state with a parliamentary system. That means we will have democracy, but along with that, we will also have the parliamentary system. This was done to ensure that the representation of all communities in the governance of the country was equal. The institution where the representatives of the people sit down to formulate the policies and govern the country is called Parliament. So, what do you mean by Parliament? Parliament is the place where the institution, where it is the institution where the representatives of the people, that means the people whom we vote, sit down together to formulate the policies and govern the country in the Parliament. Parliament is thus the representative institution of people. It is through the Parliament the sovereign will of the people finds expression. Representatives of the people are chosen by the method of free and fair elections, which are held from time to time, and the representatives are elected for a fixed duration. Children, so what is a Parliament? It is a representative institution where our representatives, the people whom we vote for, they sit and formulate how to govern our country. Beside, you can see a picture of ballot unit. It is how we vote, how we choose our representatives. And these representatives are chosen by free and fair elections. We vote for these representatives. And these elections are held from time to time. And the representatives also are elected for a fixed duration or period. In India, this period of time is 5 years. It is a government in which the ministers are collectively responsible to the popular house of parliament, that is the Lok Sabha. So, the government which is formed by the representatives are collectively responsible. The ministers are collectively responsible to the popular house of parliament, that is the Lok Sabha. Which is the popular house of the parliament? It is the Lok Sabha. In the parliamentary democracy, the concept of adult franchise is practiced. You know what is adult franchise? We have discussed only the power to vote. So before we study parliament and its functioning, let us see the position and powers of the head of the Indian state, that is the President of India. Now here comes a very important part. We are going to study about the President of India, who is our first citizen, and he is the head of the Indian state. The President of India. The Constituent Assembly had decided that the President of India would be the supreme authority. The Constituent Assembly, that means those people who formulated our constitution, they decided that the President of India would be the supreme power in our country. Now, what are the qualifications to become a president? He or she should be a citizen of India. Number 2, he or she should have completed 35 years of age. Number 3, he or she should not hold any office of profit under the state or central government. So these 3 are the qualifications, and you should learn this very nicely. Term and election. The president is elected for a term of 5 years by the electoral college, which consists of the elected members of both houses of the parliament. Now you know well, in the parliament there are 2 houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The president is elected for the term of 5 years by the elected members of both houses of the parliament. The elected members of Legislative Assembly of the state also vote for the president. So, together the elected members of both the houses of parliament and the elected members of legislative assemblies of the state form the electoral college to elect the president. Now let us discuss the powers of the president. First, executive powers. Now executive powers we shall discuss. And what do you mean by executive powers? After something becomes law, then it is executed through the various machineries of the government. So these are the executive powers of the president. The president is the head of the union government, and all executive orders are issued in the name of the president. That means he is the head of the union government, and all the laws which whatever becomes laws are executed through the various departments of government on the name of the president. The President appoints the Prime Minister and on his advice the Council of Ministers. After we elect our Prime Minister through representative election, then this Prime Minister is appointed by President only, and on the advice of the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers are also appointed by the President. The President appoints the governors of the state, the Attorney General of India, the judges of Supreme and High Courts of India, the ambassadors of India who represent India abroad. He also appoints election commissioners and other dignitaries. That means all the high posts requires appointments from the President. Legislative powers. No bill passed by the Parliament can become an act or law without his or her consent. That means any bill cannot become law until the President provides or passes it. That means the consent of the President is a must. The President addresses joint session of both houses of the Parliament after each general election and the first session of the Parliament every year. So here the President addresses the joint session of both houses also in the Parliament, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and after each general election and first session of Parliament every year. The President nominates 12 members of the Rajya Sabha and 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community in the Lok Sabha. That means in the 2 houses of the Parliament, the President nominates 12 members for Rajya Sabha and 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community in the Lok Sabha. The President can issue an ordinance with the Parliament when the Parliament is not in session. The President can issue an ordinance when the Parliament is not in session functioning. Now the financial powers. Money bill cannot be introduced without the recommendation of the President. Any money bill, regarding the financial authority should be first recommended by President and then only it can be introduced. Military powers. President is the supreme commander of armed forces and only he or she can declare war and peace. So, the President is the head, the supreme commander of all armed forces, Navy, Army and Air Force. And he or she can only declare war or peace. The President also has judicial powers. The President has the power to grant pardon or reduce punishment even after the Supreme Court has given its verdict. So see, Supreme Court is the topmost judiciary summit from where the verdict cannot be denied. But President has power to grant pardon or reduce punishment even after the Supreme Court has given its verdict. Emergency powers. The President can declare emergency in 3 situations. In 3 situations, the President has the power to declare emergency. That is war or external aggression or armed rebellion. That means if the country is on war or any armed rebellion is there, then the state of emergency can be declared. Failure of constitutional machinery in the state. If the constitutional machinery, that means the government is a failure in the state, then also emergency can be declared. And financial instability. Any financial instability in the country, then the President has full right to declare the emergency powers. Position of President in relation to that of Prime Minister. Now, if you compare the position of President with the Prime Minister, so while the powers listed above are appearing to be supreme, but in reality, the President is required to act on these powers on the advice of the Prime Minister. Having seen the powers of the President, let us now see how the elected representatives form the government. So, our Indian Parliament consists of 2 houses, the Lok Sabha or the House of the People and the Rajya Sabha or the Council of the States and the President of India, although the president is not a member of any house, but he is the constitutional head, as you have already studied. So children, we have completed our first topic. Now here you will see in your book, list of presidents of India are given. First is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, then Dr. Sarvavalli Radhakrishnan, Dr. Zakir Hussain, Sri V.V. Giri, Justice Muhammad Hidayatullah, Sri V.V. Giri again, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, Sri B.D. Jatti, Sri Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, Sri Gyani Jail Singh, Sri R. Venkataraman, Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, Sri K. R. Narayan, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Srimati Pratibha Devi Singh Patel, Sri Pranab Mukherjee, Sri Namnath Kovind, who is the present president. So these names are very important. Go through it and try to learn in sequence. These are very important. You have to go through it. I hope you all have understood the chapter today, the first topic of the chapter today. Thank you.